Hello everyone, this is Barba.js 2. Today we're gonna be extending and playing a little bit more with Barba.js. On the previous stream, we just created some basic transitions using Barba.js so we could understand the basics of the library and so you can use it yourself by yourself. But today, I think what we're just gonna be doing a little bit more advanced stuff. If you have not watched the previous stream, go ahead and do it if you don't know about Barba.js, because today I'm gonna assume that you know the basics.
That's effing sweet.
And let me show you what I'm gonna tend to build in 1 hour. Okay, maybe we'll make it, maybe we won't, but on the previous stream, we just implemented some basic transitions like this, where essentially we are navigating on the same page. Remember that the Barba.js, it's always keeping navigation on the same page without reloading that page. And we created this smooth transition from one page to the other. Okay, today we're gonna go one step further and we're gonna create this animation. Like you can see when I go to the pricing page or when I move out of the pricing page, one circle just expands and then it contracts to the next one. So now I'm in pricing, the circle is going to expand from the pricing button and it's going to contract into whatever I'm going. So if I go to home, it's going to come from pricing and go into home. If I do the other way around, like this, I think it's cool. It's a cool transition. And the last one, we're going to play around with GSAP flip animations, and we'll move this logo from one side to the other when we visit the contact page. I think this one is also cool because you can learn both Barba.js and also some GSAP. It's fun. It's fun, this one. Let's make it 3 minutes a recap of how Barba.js works, so we can just catch up and start thinking about these new interactions. Barba.js, it's just, without leaving the current page, it's essentially fetching the new page where we're going to navigate to. It's taking that content and it's putting it on the same page where we are. So if we imagine that this was like that, let's remember that essentially, first of all, Barba.js, it's just going to take the content from the next page where we're going. It's going to put that content on the same page where we are. And then once the transition, whatever animation with where we're doing has finished, it's going to remove the current content and just leave the new one in here. Okay? This concept is the base of Barba.js, and it's essentially what I need you to think of when we start creating the interactions, because today this is a little bit trickier. Let's start with the flip animation. First of all, I'm going to need to do some setup for that. Remember that we just have a very bare bones climb first clone where I just added a bunch of buttons and that's it. But we're going to need to identify basically the logo element, this one, so we can use it when trying to animate stuff, okay? So first of all, I'm just going to identify this. I'm going to call this data element, and we can say just logo, for example, because later we'll query this element and interact with it. Let's just publish this. And I think that we're actually done, because on the previous stream, we took already the contact page, we created the container and the namespace, so we can target that. Yeah? Yeah, one last thing that it's missing is, okay, for the flip animation, and this concept might be a little bit hard to understand, but I'll do my best. When doing the transition, remember that Barba.js takes the container from one page, so if the container from the next page, in this case, it would be the other way around, because maybe we are in about and we're navigating to contact, because this is when we trigger the interaction. So it's taking the container and putting it right below the current container, right? But the problem is that when we want to create this animation here, we kind of need to overlap both at the same time. Because imagine that, this logo needs to go from here to here, not from here to down here where the next content would be placed, right? Because you can just imagine it like this. Just doing this so you see what I mean. So if I take this and I duplicate it, essentially this is what Barba.js does. It takes the content from the current page and the content from the next page is going to be placed down below, right? But imagine that this logo going from here to trying to scroll to here. We don't want that. We actually want to overlap this new content on top of the old one, so then the logo movement it's just from side to side. So we're gonna need one more class, and it's gonna be added to the main wrapper in this case, and it's just gonna be called is transitioning. And this is for me. This could be called whatever is active, moving, whatever. It's up to you. But this is transitioning class. I will add it to the content that it's coming because I'm gonna set that content to fixed. So it covers the entire page, which means that imagine that I have two contents like this. The first one, it's the current one, and the next one, it's the one that it's transitioning, that it's coming to us, okay? So instead of placing that down here, we will set it to fixed. So it's right one on top of the other, because then the animation is gonna be more fluid. It's gonna be simpler to to manage, okay? So we have that. This is transitioning class. It's just fixed and it's covering the entire page like that. Let's publish this, and I think that we can start coding. First of all, remember on the last stream, we talked about rules. So when we have specific transitions and we want that transition to just apply just one page in particular or multiple pages that follow a specific condition, whatever. In our case, as I'm doing here, the contact this logo animation, I just want it to happen when I navigate from or to the contact page. But if I'm moving through other pages, then I want to trigger other animations, right? So in this case, we'll just target a specific transition for the contact page. And also let's remember that when defining the elements in Barba.js, we are also giving a namespace to those elements, because then we can target them for the transitions. We can set those rules and conditions. Okay, I think that we already did it in the last stream. We created a basic transition which we called default, and then we kind of started to create a specific transition for contact, but we did not finish it. And that transition in this case, it's whenever we go to the contact page, we're gonna run that transition. And we'll do the same when we come from the contact page, but we'll do that later. Okay, so first of all, let's just call an enter animation like this, and we'll make it async because we want to run some transitions. Okay, and this enter animation is gonna get some data, and for now, let's just console log that data. So we're on the same page. I'm gonna close this, or I'm gonna move it away because this is from another project. It was just for demo showcase, and let's just open this one. This is the one that we're working on. Let me run pm dev. Just a sec, pm dev, and now we're running. We're on local, and I think that if we move correct, so now we can start moving. And when we go to the contact page, let's see what happens. Just delete this. I'm going to move to the contact page. And we don't have any transitions, as you saw. If I go from the home to the contact page, we don't have any animations because we currently have an empty function. Let me just put this down. We have an empty function with just a console log. But that console log, it's giving us a little bit of information. It's giving us where are we coming from? So what's the current container? Let me know if this zoom is okay for you guys. We have the current container, and we also have the next container, which is the one that it's coming. So now we know that we have to take that next container, and first of all, we want to set it to position fixed. as we mentioned before, right? Instead of putting it below, we want to overlap that one. So let's just do it. I'm going to take that data and I'll say data.next.container. And in here, we can class list add. In this case, it's transitioning. Let's see if I wrote it correctly. I think so. I'm going to disable GitHub Copilot like this. And then we'll animate. And once we're done, we're going to remove that class. So I'll just do this and we'll remove the class. So we're taking the content, overlapping on top of it. We're doing the flip animation where we're moving the logo from one side to the other. But then once we're done, the old content goes away, which means that we can just get rid of the fixed position because there is no old content. We already got rid of it. Okay. So what's missing here is this part in here. What we need to do, I think that probably drawing is going to be simpler to explain because this flip animation is a little bit tricky because we have two different logos. We have the logo, the current logo, and the one that it's coming, right? We have two different logos. This one needs to go from the old content to the new content. Okay, so that's where the tricky part comes. And I just noticed that actually we need to move that logo to the side. I'll just say, let's wrap this up with the parent like this. And let's call this logo parent, whatever. And let's put these two flex like that, I think. Yeah, correct. And we'll add it just a combo class, is contact. Because just for the contact page, we want the logo to be on the other side. I think that I need to set this to 100% width. Yeah, cool. So we're essentially just moving the logo on the right side, but for the contact page. So let me just go to the other pages and replace this. But for these pages, I want the logo on the left. Like this. Didn't I set it to 100%? Oh, right, I set it to 100% in here. Nope, that's wrong. Like that. Cool. And last thing, in the About page, we'll do the same. We'll just replace it. So all the pages currently have the same setup. We have the logo parent. Okay, this parent is actually going to be important. You'll see that in a second. We have the logo inside, and just for the contact page, that parent it's set to position to justify in the end to get the logo on the right. We have two containers in here, like this. Inside the first container, we just have, let's treat the home page like this. So we have the logo. Let's create a logo like this. And also we have a title, like homepage, whatever. Okay. What did it do? Like this. And then we have the same thing, kind of. I can select two. You have the same thing. Oh, because I grouped it. Oh, come on. Contact. But the logo, it's on the right. So this logo goes here on the right. Now let's take this and also take this. What's going to happen is Barba.js is going to take the content from the next page, which is the contact page. It's going to put it down below, but because we have position fixed, it means that it's going to overlap it like this. I actually did it super awfully. Like this. Okay. And it's our task to navigate, to create this flip animation moving that logo from here to here. Okay. Because we're overlapping the two of them, once we put these in here, nope, the other way around. once we put the contact in here, the next thing that happens is that the homepage goes away, right? So it means that, and while we're putting the content on top of here, this content, it's not visible yet. It's on the page, but it's set to be opacity 0. This is something that Barba does to avoid, showing two things at the same time. So we are going to do something that it's a little bit weird, but essentially we're going to take, first of all, this logo, the logo from the current page, and we're going to use something from GSAP that it's called getState, which essentially gets the current position of that logo. Okay, this logo from here, we're going to get the position, like, okay, it's X, Y, and Z from the sides, and it's this width and this height. Basically, GSAP reads how this element is positioned and rendered on the page. Okay, we're going to store that state. And then, instead of animating the logo that's coming from the current page, we're going to remove that one, and we're going to take the old one and move it to the side. Take into consideration that we also want to put it on the next container. Okay, it's a little bit weird, and I know that I'm explaining it pretty weirdly, but I'll get that in a second. Okay, and actually I think that's it, because then we're just taking this element, we're putting it on the next container. So just imagine that I'm taking this, I'm putting it on the next container, and because GSAP knows the previous position, and when I put it on the next container, remember that the parent, this parent in here, it has flags to the right. So the moment that I take this logo and I move it to the next container, the flags position, it's automatically going to put it on the right. Okay? But remember that we're going to have this stored state from GSAP where this logo was positioned previously on the left, like this. So then we're going to call a function of GSAP that is called animate from. And we're going to call GSAP and say, hey, just remember, take the state that I had previously and create an animation that goes from that state to the new position that I have, which is here on the right, like that. Okay, it's very weird, but let's code it, and maybe then you can make sense of it a little bit more. Let's just come here, and first of all, remember that we need to get actually the two logos. We get the current logo, and it's just gonna current and container, and from here we're gonna query selector, and I call this data element equals to logo, like this. And I'll just assume that this exists. So I'll just call this HTML element, like this, okay? This is the current logo, the one from the current container. And we'll do the same from the next logo, which is the one that it's coming next, like this, okay? We have the two of them, two logos. So first of all, I'll just store the state of the current logo. And for that, we can call GSAP flip. I think it's just flip. And get state from the current logo. Yep, now we have stored the current position of the logo. This is something that GSAP already provides. And then we're going to remove the next logo. So the next logo just goes away, remove. And we're going to take the current logo and put it inside the parent. So we're going to put it inside this logo parent of the contact page, the one that it's coming. Okay, so now I just remember that first of all, we need to get the parents. So we'll say current logo parent is equals to the current logo parent element, like this. And we'll do the same for the next logo parent. Next. Okay, so I'm removing the next logo. So I'm just doing this. That logo wasn't here. So first of all, I've stored the state. Now I'm getting this and I'm removing it. And now I need to take this and move it to here, like this. So let's say the next logo, remove. Oh, actually I did it already. And then we're going to take the next logo parent and append the current logo like this. Okay. So now we have the current logo that it's set on the right, but we still don't have an animation going on. The only thing that I'm doing is moving one place, putting it on the other, but that's it, right? Now we have to do the animation. And that animation, it's just going to be GSAP, flip, not GSAP, sorry, flip from. And then we'll take the state and we can just call this a duration of 0.5. Okay. When doing this, when calling this flip from, GSAP it's taking the current logo because we stored the state of the current logo. Okay. And it's going to compare, okay, this current logo, it's here on the right, but the state that I have stored, it's here on the left where it was previously. So GSAP is going to create this animation of moving the logo from here to here, like this. Okay. And that's almost it. But I'm going to run this and you'll see that there's something weird going on. Okay, let's just try it. Super quick. Let's come here. We're on the home page. And let's do it. You can see that it's kind of not doing it yet, right? It's a little bit weird. And actually, I need to wait for this. Let's do it again. So it's still not working exactly how we would expect. We kind of see that the logo is going from one side to the other, but that's it, right? And the content is jumping around, okay? There are two things that we have to do still. The first thing is we have to add a property from Barba.js that is called sync. Sync equals to true. And let's go to the documentation so I can explain what this means. If we go to advanced transitions and we go down to sync mode, it's called here, you'll see that it's a mode that indicates whether leave and enter hooks should play together, which essentially means that the moving this place in here and removing the previous one, it's happening at the same time instead of doing it one first and then the other, because then it's when the content kind of just flashes in a weird way. We're doing both things at the same time. We're entering one thing and removing the old thing together. Okay, this is the sync mode in Barba.js. So we activate this and we're kind of there, but still it's not going to work correctly at all. Okay, give me a second because there's something that it's not right. I think we're taking the state from the current logo, we're removing the next logo, we're ending the current logo, and we're doing the flip animation. That's correct. But the thing that it's missing is if I have here this one and I move it to here, the problem that happens is that when I do this, I have just a microsecond of time where this logo parent, it's empty, right? There is nothing in here. Let's just imagine that we have a logo, a wrapper, which is the parent. This is the wrapper. The moment that I take this away and I put it here, this wrapper no longer has any content. So obviously this goes up. It doesn't have any height. So this goes like this. And obviously the rest of the content also moves up. So we want to avoid that. And what we can do is just before moving this from here to here, we're just going to get the current height of the element and we will force the element to stay on with that height. Okay, we try to avoid having that up movement the moment that we take away the child from it. And we can do that by just saying the kernel logo parent. That's why I also queried it. The kernel logo parent, let's put a height to it. Oops, height. And we'll take the kernel logo I think it's height, offset height, I think. And with the offset height, we're essentially, like this. We're essentially saying, okay, please, that logo parent, this one, have a fixed height, the one that I'm giving you, which is the height from the logo. So it's kind of like this, because it should be the same height. So the moment that we take this away, put it in here, this still stays here. So everything, it seems like it's static. It's not moving away. It's not doing anything. Okay, so we have this. And let's just try it out like this. We kind of have problems still. Okay, let me see why. Something is missing. That's correct. Oh, you know what it's missing? Yeah. Okay. Remember, see what I'm doing. I'm getting the logo from the current container and also from the next container. Obviously, this next container, it's a contact page, right? So this means that the logo should have also the data element logo on the contact page, not just on the home page. We need to identify this logo. Oh, I didn't have it anywhere. An element logo like that. Maybe I did it in the about page. Nope. Okay. Let's do it in the about page. Data element equals to logo. Like that. And let's publish it. We're adding the transitioning. Let me just make sure that this class is working fine. So I take the main wrapper, it's transitioning, position fixed. Just in case. But yeah, the moment that we get the state, I think it's reloading the page. Absolutely, it is. Okay, so it's this flip function that it's doing this. But you know, the weird thing is that I already did that previously, and I never got into this issue. So let me see. Oh, you know why? Because I'm not importing it. Okay, done. I was missing importing the flip plugin from GSAP because it's an additional plugin, and to register it. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, here we have it. Yay! Cool. So see what's happening, and now it's a really long animation because I was following Penny's suggestion, but so everything is working fine. Let's just see what's happening. Now you can see that there's an issue here, and it's that not only we're overlapping both pages and then we're taking one logo and putting it on the same one, but while we're doing that animation, obviously the rest of the page is still there, right? We could be fancy, like just hide everything and just keep the logo while we're doing that animation. But for now, I think that we'll just do a quick animation for the H1 for the title. Okay, so while we're doing this, we're gonna fade away the title, and so fade in, fade out the title, and fade in the next title. Okay, so for now, let's query also not only the logos, but let's query the headers too. Heading, current header, and this is going to be data current, container, query selector, and we'll get an H1. I'm just going to assume that there is an H1 because there's nothing else in this page, but you probably should be using attributes to query this. HTML heading element, like this, and we'll do the same for the next one, for the next. Okay, what we want to do is we want to fade out the current header and fade in the next header. Okay, so I'll just do GZAP 2, and we'll take the current header and we'll set it to opacity equals to 0. Okay, so we're taking the current header and we're fading it out. We'll also put a duration. Let's put everything 1 second. Let's put a duration of 1 second, like this. Actually, let's do half a second, because half a second is going to be fading out, and the other half a second is going to be fading in, the next one. So let's do half a second, like this. And then we're going to do GSAP from, and then the next header, we want that to go from opacity 0 to opacity 1, which is what it's going to have later, like that. But also, we want a delay of 0.5, because essentially we're saying, hey, wait 0.5, so until this animation of the current header finishes, and then animate in the next header. Okay, and instead of awaiting each one separately, we're gonna wait everything at the same time, and we're gonna use promise all for this. And with promise all, essentially we're saying, okay, run the 3 animations at the same time. Let's try it out. Let's do this. Yeah, cool. See it. Boom, boom, like that. Hey, this is actually cool. You know, we're just fading out one title and fading in the next one while the animation is going in the background, like this. This is actually cool. Yay. Okay, and what we can do now, because this is just running when I go to the contact page, but I also want to run this when I go out of the contact page. Okay, so when I go to the contact page, like that, and when I go out of the contact page, I want to do the same thing, but in reverse. I want to move that logo back to the original place. But if you check the code, we actually don't need to write anything else, because we're already just saying, okay, get the state from the current place and move it to the next place. It doesn't matter if it's going to the right or to the left. We don't need to change the code at all. We just need to reuse this code. So instead of having this in here, I'll just create it. I'll just move it inside a function. You'll see why in a second. Well, let's just copy this in here, and let's just put it down here and say contact transition. And we need the data. And this data, we're using TypeScript, so let's type it. It's transition data, like this. Like this. So now instead of having the logic hard-coded right inside the enter transition, I can just call contact transition, like this. Okay, because now I can reuse it. And currently we're just running it for when I go to the contact page, but we can duplicate this and say and do the same, but when we go from the current page. Oh, this should be async, like this. Correct. So essentially, we're kind of duplicating it because the GSAP rules, at least what I know of, is that you cannot add multiple rules in a way that it's from and to a specific page. So we're just duplicating stuff. When it goes to the contact page, run the contact transition, and also when it goes from the contact page, do the same. Also run the contact transition. So we'll do it again. Let's just try it. We're going to the contact page, and we're coming from the contact page. Cool. See, bam. Obviously, we could polish this a little bit more, because focus on the background now. Let's just see the background. See what happens. Do you see how we have double, kind of like a darker background? That's because we are still overlapping the two containers, the current one and the previous one. So definitely we could polish this a lot more, but I don't want to bore you guys because it's pretty late. That's it for today. We've created this cool animation where we're moving from one side to the other, this logo, and also we're fitting in and out the title. I think it works also for both pages. Yeah, so it's not only for specifically the home page, the contact. It actually doesn't matter from any page. Whenever you go to the contact page and you leave that, it's a really cool animation that we've created. We have people wanting for a third session, so before the next Friday, we're gonna see the last stream with Barba.js, where we're going to create this cool animation. Let's see if it works still. No, it does not, because I've disabled it. But we're gonna create a cool animation where we just interact with a bunch of elements that cover the page and do cool stuff. And maybe we can create any small animation that people ask for if we have time. But then after that stream, we're gonna switch topics to something else. So if you have any suggestions, please leave them in the comments. You can leave them in Twitter, you can leave them in YouTube, you can leave them in Slack, whatever. And if you appreciated this, leave a like. Thank you for being here. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.